we just look at collaborative working, students working in groups of, say, 4 or 5 or 6. Have you ever come across any problems of students working collaboratively?
Oh, yes.
Just tell me a few problems.
One of the reasons we do peer assessment within group work is because if you've got group work, it's very easy for a student to coast, to not engage, to not perform. So that's one of the basic problems. If you have peer assessment within there, then there's a reason for them to do that because they're going to be marked down by their colleagues. One of the reasons we do group work is it's very important as an engineer. We work in teams all the time in industry, and that's one of the things we talk to students about. We spend quite a lot of time giving them skills, talking to them about the need for communication, the need for project management, and all those sorts of things that go towards group work. But you still end up with students that don't perform, or they would rather focus on another aspect of their course or on their social life. And if they aren't performing within their group, that can still cause problems. And that can cause real frustrations for some students. They don't know how to handle it. And I think the common feedback we get from that is, well, it's not the same in industry, you could just sack them. Actually, it's not quite like that. But so it's something that we have to then work with student groups, work through those problems. And if we're aware that there are problems, we'll often sit down with the group, take them aside and say, right, let's try and work through this with you. What have you done? How have you tried to control the problem? Have you set them deadlines? Have you got smart targets? So actually getting them to work through their problems. Ideally, we'd like them to solve them themselves, but it doesn't always work.
So sometimes you have to intervene as staff in group work to make sure that it's happening in the right way.
Yeah. And actually, the issue of peer assessment can create its own problems because students know they're being marked and don't like the marks that come out the other side. So it's something that I and several colleagues are still looking at, working out the best way to manage that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's no perfect way. But,
no. And a lot of it is about communication. It's about keeping that going throughout. If you leave it right to the end, some students get a real shock, and then there's complaints when the marks come out. If you try to do it throughout, then anything that's been marked negatively or written as negative, because whenever we ask people to mark each other, we ask for justification. If you're going to mark somebody down below the average of your group, we want to know why, because we need to be able to justify that. So there's a lot of work that goes behind there.
Yeah. So small group work consumes as much time and reflection and thought as teaching large lectures.
In that type of project work, we, as a department, we recognise that it probably takes more time than it does standing up in front, lecturing in front of a class. And in a workload model, we would weight that higher in terms of the amount of staff time required. Because when you're dealing with the student may only get an hour of your time, but if you're repeating that across 20 groups, that's 20 hours of a member of staff's time. The students had very good quality time, but maybe for a limited time, but it's taken a lot of staff input to do that.
It actually does sound very staff intensive.
It can be, but it's very valuable. So we need to balance the different types of teaching that's available.
And also it's essential in preparing engineering students for subsequent jobs.
Yeah.
You're suggesting.
Yeah.